Who were the torchbearers from Tennessee football's heartbreaking loss to the Georgia Bulldogs? And yes, it was a heartbreaking loss in every way, shape, and form possible. Well, there were quite a few, believe it or not. There were guys who played well up on the line. The edge rushers all played great. The defensive line, by the way, helped Tennessee control the line of scrimmage, and it started from there and with the offensive line. So there's a lot of people to credit. But the first torchbearer in this game is Dominic Bailey. And I almost want to give this as a collaborative between Dominic Bailey, Tyree West, and Bryson Eason in the middle, who was trying to help with that, even as he was sometimes getting banged up. Tennessee's defensive line was gassed by the end. They were. They are thin with Jackson Moy and David Hobbs out. And they have to rely on their defensive ends who play up on the line in a 4-point stance, which are Dominic Bailey, Tyree West, and Tyree Weathersby. Well, then Bryson Eason had to do a huge bulk of the work in the middle for all of that. With all of that said, Dominic Bailey represented all of them. He had a sack in this game, a big one, and he had 5 tackles for a loss, 5 tackles total, plus a solo tackle and that sack. He did a lot of good for Tennessee in this game. And Bryson Eason and Dominic Bailey together were incredible. This is a unit as a whole that I give credit to for the Joshua Joseph strip sack that happened late, which was a key play. I didn't have Joshua Joseph's, spoiler alert, on this list because while he did have the strip sack that Bryson Eason recovered, Dominic Bailey was more consistent throughout the game at helping to get pressure around the edges on Gunnar Stockton. And so Dominic Bailey is my number 5 torchbearer. He gets a ton of credit. My next torchbearer, Lance Hurd. Now, I've talked to you guys about how the offensive line played. They pleasantly surprised me today with the way the interior played. The interior was great. They did everything right. They did everything you're supposed to do. And it just didn't work out for them in the end because of a couple of mistakes late and then a few other things that happened. But the offensive line as a whole was solid. And there were no issues at tackle whatsoever. And Lance Hurd was the biggest star. Lance Hurd had some impressive blocks throughout the day. He did everything he was supposed to do. He has really taken a step forward for the Vols this season, given the way he played last season at the beginning of the year when he was playing on a sprained ankle. Lance Hurd is easily the best offensive lineman on Tennessee right now. And Lance Hurd may or may not be the best offensive lineman, one of the best offensive linemen in the SEC now. He is an elite left tackle. He has 100% talent to be an All-American caliber left tackle. What he did in this game, Lance Hurd, containing Georgia's secondary, keeping Joey Aguilar upright, that came down to him. Lance Hurd was the best. It's a collaborative. Jesse Perry on the right side at right tackle did a good job. Sam Pendleton and Sham Umarov deserve credit in the middle, but obviously Pendleton and Umarov made key mistakes in this, each of them, which knocks them out. So it will come down to Lance Hurd, Wendell Moe Jr., or Jesse Perry. And Lance Hurd is the guy who does all the best blocking for Tennessee in this one. He was the key left tackle. He's the blindside tackle. And being the blindside tackle was crucial in this game. And it kept Joey Aguilar upright. It allowed Joey Aguilar to make a lot of plays. Lance Hurd, easily a torchbearer, one of the best players in the game. A ton of credit. Back to the defensive side. And here's another collaborative effort. Caleb Herring is the face of the collaborative effort for the edge rushers, who earns a torchbearer award. Dominic Bailey, Bryson Eason, I told you guys, collaborative effort, Tyree West, Tyree Weathersby. In the middle, on the edge on the other side with those guys getting the push, Caleb Herring, Joshua Joseph, and Jordan Ross were all able to make plays. Jordan Ross, Caleb Herring, and Joshua Joseph each had 4 total tackles. Caleb Herring and Joshua Joseph had 3 solo tackles each. Jordan Ross assisted on a sack, had a tackle for a loss, and broke up a pass. Joshua Joseph had a strip sack. But Caleb Herring was the best. He had 1.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for a loss. He was the playmaker of this team among the edge rushers. Now, a lot of what other guys do lead to them being the playmakers. And again, this is why this is a collaborative. But Caleb Herring was the biggest star. And it wasn't just those 2.5 tackles for loss and 1.5 sacks. He was always getting to Gunnar Stockton around the edge. Always. Caleb Herring was doing everything he could to bring the max amount of pressure to Gunnar Stockton and put him through as much hell as possible. And by and large, it worked most of the time. It, again, part of Gunnar Stockton's mobility that we didn't see, that changed the complexion of the game, a lot of it. But Caleb Herring led a group of edge rushers who did everything they could to get to Gunnar Stockton and make him feel every throw he made. They had to prepare for Gunnar Stockton to get hit at times. And because of that, I think Caleb Herring is a torchbearer. He was the best defensive player for Tennessee in this game. Best defensive player. Best defensive player by far. Caleb Herring did an incredible job. And I think Caleb Herring is easily a torchbearer. Up next, we're going to go to specifically Chris Brazzell II. Now, Chris Brazzell II, for those who don't know, is not the only receiver who was elite in this game. I actually think Mike Matthews was key to this game. I said he would be key at the start. Why? He had 5 catches for 59 yards, but his speed on the outside allowed him to dictate coverage, which allowed everybody else to make plays, including Miles Kitzelman at the tight end with 3 catches for 33 yards. Rodarius Jackson had a 5-yard catch. Braylon Staley obviously gets an honorable mention among the receiver group. 9 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown. But you can't ignore Chris Brazzell. 6 catches, 177 yards, 3 touchdowns. Chris Brazzell, over the past 2 weeks, has caught 15 balls for 302 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's right. Chris Brazzell, over the past 2 weeks, has caught 15 balls for 302 yards and 5 touchdowns. Incredible stat line for Chris Brazzell. An incredible game for him overall. He is turning into an elite wide receiver. Part of this because of the way Mike Matthews dictates coverage. You haven't been able to see Tennessee's receivers do this in the past. Chris Brazzell was incredible. He had an amazing catch over the middle at one point for Tennessee to put them up in the first quarter. I mean, everything about the way Chris Brazzell played in this was amazing. I have to give him a torchbearer. I can't really say enough about him, honestly. But again, it was a collaborative effort by the receivers overall. So with that in mind, yes, Chris Brazzell is definitely a torchbearer in this game. He really stands out. But the obvious torchbearer, not going to shock anybody on this one, Joey Aguilar. A true underdog story in this one. Almost had the best underdog story ever as he completed 24 of 36 passes for 371 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I know it's crazy. Joey Aguilar is on this list in terms of the blame pie for the 2 interceptions, but he's also on this list for how well he played in the moxie he played with. Tennessee needed a quarterback like Joey Aguilar, willing to take risks, willing to let his receivers make plays. He was always willing to do that, and he did that in this one. And being willing to let his receivers make plays is why Tennessee was in position to upset Georgia late. They haven't had a quarterback that willing to do that, honestly, ever under Josh Heupel. Yes, Hendon Hooker was very good at letting his players make plays, but Hendon Hooker, most of the time, those receivers were bare running down the sidelines. Many defenses have shifted to how they play Tennessee. They've run that little shell over the top coverage. And Tennessee needed a quarterback with moxie, willing to let his receivers make plays and trusting them to make plays. Joey Aguilar has done that. And because Joey Aguilar has done that, he is proving that he belongs in this league. And as tough as this was for him, and I'm sure it was, he's shown that he can maybe do enough to help Tennessee long term still get to the college football playoff. So Joey Aguilar, again, is the torchbearer of the game. He was the best player in the game, and he was the star of the game. He is my top torchbearer. Everybody give a round of applause for Joey Aguilar.